What's up, guys? Coach Vassar. Thank you for joining me with OTF Audio Daily Beats. As always, if you're new, appreciate you tuning in to listen to me talk about these workouts. If you find value in them, information is in the description to support me. You might get a guest appearance from my cat, Blaze. Today, we're going to break down Sunday, June 22nd. This is another one-off where it doesn't repeat. We're going to see power on the treadmills, endurance on the rower, strength on the weight floor, and then, of course, we'll talk about the 2G and talk about the 3G. All right, so when we're looking at the 2G today, on the treads, we're going to focus. The focus is on block 2. You have all outs that get shorter each round. Block 1, prime your body for those powerful efforts. On the rower, whenever you hit the rower, it's a 300-meter push. Can you push your heart rate towards the orange zone? And then on the floor, block 1 preps your body for that heavy drop set coming into block 2. Upright benches are required, and then dumbbells and, of course, straps. Now, when we look at the treadmills, there's 2 blocks, 10.5 minutes, 90-second recovery, and then 11 minutes. As mentioned in the key concepts, block 1 is a primer block. We're going to look to increase the push and lower base as needed. On the setup, both efforts start with a longer effort that decrease over time. So essentially, as we increase the push and we pull time off that base, we pull back on that speed, we're going to widen the gap between their active recovery and then their work effort. We're going to start with a 2.5 minute push. Power walkers 5% or greater, joggers and runners, because they're going to get a long recovery, 1 to 1.5 over the base, a great place to start. Bikes and striders, we're going to see a total of 4 push efforts today. So opportunity to start maybe 2 or 3 gears, and they could add a gear every time until they eventually get to their all-out intensity. Okay, so after that 2.5 minute push, they have a 3-minute base. Whew, long time at base, which is great. The next push gets cut in half to 75 seconds. Okay, so whatever they did before, looking to improve on it. They recommend adding 1% on that incline for the power walkers, joggers and runners. Probably bump up 0.1 to 0.2, especially after coming off that long base. Okay, the next base though is only 2 minutes. Sorry, my cat is playing around with my phone. After that 2-minute base, ooh, thanks, Blaze. What a jerk. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, after that 2-minute base, next push is 30 seconds. Very aggressive here, 8% or greater. Bikes and striders probably closer to that 4-5 gear over base. Joggers and runners are probably approaching that 1.5 to almost 2 over their base. Very close to an all-out feeling. 1 minute base and then a 15-second push, which ideally is probably going to set them up for what they want to use for their first all-out in block 2. After that 15-second push, there's 90 seconds to recover, get back to base when they're ready. That's also the last technical base of the day. All right, so what we want to see here is heart rate flow goes ups and downs. Because you have a long push and a very long base to begin with, they do recommend, of course, being aggressive. So definitely heart rate should trend upward, probably hit that, tap into that high green, low orange right about halfway through that first effort, and then probably mid-range to almost a high orange by the end. But during that 3-minute base, definitely come back towards to green, or at least trend down. But hopefully they get back to green after 3 minutes at their base effort. If they're not able to, they might have to reevaluate what their true base is. Every round, they're adding to their push, and then they could lower their base as needed, especially because there's less time. Okay. When we move into block 2, we're going to see repeats of 1 minute, 45, and 30 seconds. Okay. The 1 minute and the 45 seconds will be 2 attempts, and the goal is to set an all-out, take a 1 minute walk recovery, and then match it. When we move to the next round, where the duration gets shorter, we want to increase the all-out. So going back to block 1, maybe whatever they did for that 15-second push might set them up for what they want to start around with that 1 minute all-out. Okay, 1 minute walk, 1 minute all-out, 1 minute walk. Nice, easy 1-to-1. Definitely see some, lower changes in terms of ups and downs, peaks and valleys. So not super drastic gaps, but enough where they come up and back down and maybe change between, green and orange. Now, when we get to the later rounds, 45-second all out, 1 minute walk, 45 all out, 1 minute walk. Whatever they did for that 1 minute, definitely aim to increase because it's shorter. We should see a higher spike and a bigger drop because they're getting more recovery compared to work. The third round changes up slightly because instead of 2 attempts, they have 3. So they'll do a 30 all out, 1 minute walk, 30 all out, 1 minute walk, 30 all out. Definitely looking for peaks and valleys. The peaks probably not as high as what they saw in the 45 and the 1 minute, but the valleys definitely substantially lower because they're only working for half the amount of time compared to the recovery. When they finish that, looking at the weight floor side, block 1, that 10.5 minute block, this is the only side that actually has the rowing involved. We're gonna see 2 strap exercises and a single leg and a body weight as a circuit to lead them into a 300-meter push row. The goal here is pretty much nonstop movement. They're gonna see a strapped face pull, so like a high row, but we're also gonna add a little bit of rotation to bring those handles to about in line with their temples. But rather than here, slightly out. After that, they go into the combination of the rollout to tricep extension. For that movement, I would recommend having them start in the bottom of the tricep position, extend out, and then hit that rollout, keeping that core tight the entire time. If they can emphasize maintaining like a neutral spine and from the top of the head to the heel, like a plank, they should feel a lot of core engagement. And of course, lighten up the triceps from that tricep extension, okay? And finally, they're gonna have a single leg glute bridge, body weight 8 per side. As mentioned, this is a primer block for the block 2 stuff. The row, that 300-meter push row, for most people, it's gonna take around a minute. And because it's only around a minute, heart rate should definitely be in that high green, as I mentioned, reaching for that orange. So approaching that, if anything, when they finish that row and they're sitting there catching their breath, heart rate will continue to climb, maybe taps into that orange and then start to trickle back down, but hopefully by then they're up and they're back to the weight floor. Because it's a push row and not an all out, we should see them be able to finish that row and just head on back, and that walk back to their station is almost part of that recovery. Okay, now block 2, this is gonna be the highlight for the weight floor. We're gonna see drop sets with back-to-backs. So we're gonna do a seated bicep curl for 5 heavy reps, and then lighten up the weight and do as many reps as possible, and then rest. And then we're gonna see rear foot elevated split squats, 5 reps as heavy as possible, and then lighten it up, and then do as many reps as possible after those 5. You're gonna do that on the left side, then the right side, okay? So that's one thing just to keep in mind. They're gonna do, 5+ reps on the left leg, 5+ reps on the right leg. And then they're gonna repeat that sequence again. Every time they come back, a couple ways to kind of manage the expectations. With 5 reps of a heavy dumbbell, when they drop the weight slightly, they'll probably get another extra like 2 to 4-ish more reps. If they could do 5, drop the weight and hit another 5+, either that drop was too much, so maybe use a slightly heavier weight for their lighter weight, or maybe they have potential to go up in their heavy weight choice, okay? And of course, tempo is another great one, especially with the bicep curls. A lot of times people will kind of rebound at the bottom and swing right back up. If they could really control, keep the palms up, and if anything, as they're lowering down, instead of having the elbows drop and the hands drop, let the weight move out, because that's gonna increase more tension on that bicep as they then come down. And of course, try to get the elbows to lock out of the bottom, get that tricep extension squeeze at the bottom as well. That'll help really stretch out the bicep before they hit that curl again. Now, the benches are in an upright position, but that's because of the Strength 50 class. If you want to do an off-mic challenge for people for the biceps, if they lay back on that bicep, that's going to add an even deeper stretch to that insertion point, and it's going to make that so much more challenging, because then they're not going to be able to swing with their torso. Okay, so that's one way to challenge people who they feel like they don't really quite get enough out of the bicep curls. Because if they do that, they're gonna be like, you know what, that's actually plenty, 5 is good, I don't need to go anymore. And then for that split squat, main thing here, of course, tempo, right? Slowing down, 2-3 counts down, pause, 2-3 counts back up will really burn those quads. If they add a slight hinge forward into the hip, it'll target that front leg's glute more as well. Most of their body weight should be on that front leg. The back leg is just up and elevated to help kind of support their balance, but primarily the front leg is one doing all the work to get them up and back down. Finisher is going to be an alternating bicep curl for the final 30 seconds. So do the left arm, do the right arm, nice and simple. Now, when we're looking at the 3G, we're going to see 2 blocks on the treads, 1 long block on the weight floor, and then 2 blocks on or 1 block on the rower, and then 2 blocks on the weight floor. So on the treadmill side, block 1 is going to be 3 rounds of that push-based combo. We're gonna see essentially the first round removed from the 2G. So we're gonna see the 75 push, 2-minute base, 30 push, 1 minute base, 15 push, and then their walk recovery for only 75 seconds. So just keep that in mind. Block 2, it is very similar, but the walk recoveries are shorter. So 1 minute all out, 45 walk, and then maintain that 1 minute all out, 45 walk. Now we're into round 2, increase it for 45 seconds with a 45 walk, match their 45 all out, 45 walk. And then third round, shortest all outs, 30 seconds, hopefully more than what they did for the 45, and then a 45 walk, and then the final all out. So this one only has 2 30-second all outs compared to 3 in the 2G. Now for the rower itself, we're gonna see a 600-meter push row paired up with quick lateral hop side to side for 12 reps, and then the foot exchange where the feet swap places for 12. They're gonna work their way down by 100 meters for 6 rounds. So 600, 500, 4, 3, 2, 100 meters. And we wanna maintain push intensity as the duration decreases. With this longer row, what I would highly suggest people to pay attention to is split time during the row, and then at the end, when they finish the row, if they hit sign out, that's one way to do it. You'll see what their average watts were. If they could keep their average watts consistent throughout, then the intensity is consistent throughout. Of course, if their average watts goes up, that's a great thing because that means they are actually increasing the push intensity as the distance gets shorter, okay? The other way to, of course, pay attention to that is once they finish that 600-meter row and then they do their stuff, when they sit back down and they go back to stored programs and they hit 500 meters, it will then show them what they did below on that previous row attempt, okay? They'll have 14 minutes to do that until a 30-second all out. I feel like most people will probably get through at least through the 200-meter row round. You probably have a couple people get through 100 meters, but still there's quite a bit of rowing in those 14 minutes before that all out. Weight floor block 1 is the same primer block, just without the rower, of course, because it's a 3G. And then block 2, it's the same back-to-back drop sets. So you got the bicep curl, 5 for as heavy as you can, and then lighten it up as many reps as you can, rest, and then split squats. Left side, 5 as heavy as you can, as many as you can with something lighter, rest, then do the right side. And of course, same finisher, alternating bicep curls. Once again, June 22nd for this Sunday. Other than that, that's all I got. Coach it down.